Welcome back to the Career Success Academy. I'm Steve. And if this is your first time here, thank you for being here. And if you're a returning person, we have a different kind of video for you today. Different than our normal how-to video, although we do have some of that. But this is about being realistic in March of 2023 and understanding what your expectations should be, whether you're a student who's going to be going for their first job after graduation and going through that entire transition of not knowing how to do that, or whether you're a person in your 50s, 60s, or 70s and finding out that your longtime job or you did retire and now you're trying to get back into the marketplace, just how things have changed and what your expectations should be. So, I'm Steve. Again, this is the Career Success Academy, and we're glad you're here. Let's get started. When we talk about expectations, we have one common denominator. Last week, a survey was published by ZipRecruiter. And ZipRecruiter said basically that across the country, the average, including all the different careers, etc., the average time to find a new job is now 3 months. And I wanted to talk about that because if you recall, we had the pandemic and we had a shortage of people everywhere. What has changed? Well, there's a couple of things that are changing in a very big way. And some things are still the same that will not change, that we have to be reminded of. The first thing that has changed is that more people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s aren't retiring because of inflation, because of the economy, because of a lot of different reasons, including the fact that companies have a hard time finding replacements for these people. They're still working. And because they're still working, if you think about it, this is pretty logical. Because those people are still working at the top, meaning not like senior management, but just as part of the entire workforce. The people at the bottom end are having a harder time finding opportunities because if the people up here aren't retiring, then the people in the middle aren't being promoted and moving up and advancing their career. So there's less room for the brand new people to come in on the bottom end. That's one of the reasons why it's taking an extra amount of time, in this case 3 months according to ZipRecruiter, to find that first position. But other things are happening too. I want you to ask yourself how flexible you really are. And when I talk about flexible, I'm not talking about you're willing to compromise in terms of getting a job. I think if times are tough enough, everybody's willing to compromise in order to put food on the table. It's not my point. I'm thinking in specific terms of flexibility, meaning the difference between working remotely and working in an office, because the world is changing again. We all know about the pandemic. We all know how we took a big turn to working remotely. But many companies, many organizations are asking people to come back to that office. Why is that? And how does that affect your flexibility is what I'm really asking. Well, this is critical because if you have it in your head that you want to work remotely And that's your approach when you go in to interview. And you're perfect for an opportunity. You have all the skills, everything matches up, you interviewed very well, but you're really reluctant to go into an office to work. That can mean the difference between you getting the job and not getting the job. How flexible do you want to be? Now, I say this in terms of a gentleman who I just spoke with recently, who is working remotely, to the point where the company that he is working for didn't care where in the United States he lived, as long as he stayed in the United States. And he moved cross country, where he has a nice home office set up. Every day, every work day, he, by computer, virtually, he's right there. But he's discovered that working from home remotely is not all that he thought it would be. Meaning, he misses that camaraderie between people. Sure, he's working, he's got his family, he's right there, but besides him and some of the personal things that he does, he's missing that piece of interaction between himself and the fellow human beings that are on a team that he manages that are all around the United States. He never sees these people. When he hires them, he's hiring somebody, but he's not interacting with these people on a regular basis. Companies have discovered that they're missing certain things. And again, this is by polls. I've got some facts and figures here that I'll read. But what they're really discovering is that collaboration, innovation, brainstorming, impromptu meetings, office camaraderie, it's all affecting different people, different workers, and not necessarily positively if you're working remotely. And I'll give you an example. The people working remotely seem to be the last people to find out what's going on. The people working remotely aren't getting very much face time with their managers. If we have one person in the office and one person working remotely, and they're both equal skills, and there's a job opening for promotion, which one do you think is going to get the job? Probably the one who's in the office. But the one is working harder at home. But here's what happens. You don't have the face time with your boss. You don't have the interaction with the management team. They don't see you. You're working at home and you start a little early. Maybe you work a little bit late. Nobody knows. You're not there. There is different than being here. So I have some notes here. Question: how does one get promoted if your peer is in the office with your boss? Is there such a thing as loyalty if you're working remotely? In other words, is a job just a job because you don't experience the culture? If you're trying to learn something new, it's all remote learning. It's not as easy to ask questions. So it may take a little longer to pick up on things, new things, things that change. And here's some of the answers. So according to, this is from LinkedIn, LinkedIn's Workforce Confidence Index, 58% of Americans think it's important to be seen in person by their organization's leadership team. 58%. You're convinced you want to work at home because you want to work in your PJs. You want to put in a little less hours, or you want to work a little earlier or work a little later, and who's going to know the difference? As long as you're getting your work done, productivity is an issue. 60% of hybrid workers those are workers who split their time between on-site and home offices, agree that being visible is part of how you get recognized as being valuable to the organization. 60%, that's huge. So when we talk about out of sight, out of mind, it's true. So expectations, which is how we started this, your expectations should be set so that you're able to maximize whatever time you're spending with your boss, with your management team, etc. So, how does that affect you in terms of your resume, in terms of your quest for your next job? And it's more important than ever that on your resume, you separate yourself from your peers, from the other people applying to that same job. It's more important for you now to tell your story on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, and anywhere else you can, in your cover letter. It's more important now because as we're experiencing these shifts in the economy and within each of these organizations, you want to move yourself to the top of whatever that resume pile is, if you will, past the people who are dealing with bullet points and short sentences. It's critical. It's also critical that when you interview, you demonstrate your flexibility, your ability to communicate. Communication is more important than ever. Demonstrate your trustworthiness, that you do have value. It's more important than ever to put that value proposition into your resume. And that, again, a person who's coming fresh out of school, out of college, out of university, even out of high school, is going to take longer to learn whatever it is the organization does. The business rules, the processes, how to do things, the company way, the culture of the company. It's going to take longer to learn all that if you're working remotely. Think about that. So it's up to you to demonstrate in your value proposition that you're a quick learner. And then, by gosh, you should really try to learn quickly. Whether you're 50 years old trying to get that next step in your, and I call it a career, but you're looking for that next job. You're not ready to retire. You need to keep putting food on the table. Or whether you're that 25-year-old who's looking to move from your first job to your second job, and the value that you can add. It's very important to have as much of that in your resume, in your story, as possible. One of the things that we're doing here at the Career Success Academy, as a direct result of everything I was just talking about, these expectations and needing to maximize what you do, one of the things we're doing is we're starting to create some, I'm going to call them, some are high level, some are very detailed courses. And these are self-instruction. These are how-tos, how to construct that resume. And then we give you resume templates. We give you checklists for how to interview, whether it's a virtual interview or it's an in-person interview. These are just examples. Our mission here is to help you get your next job and to help you advance your career Whether you're that 60-year-old who's getting close to retirement, but you're not quite there, or you're the 22-year-old who's just finishing up at school and discovering that you do need that job. Well, that's what we're all about. I hope you like this video. Please take this time to like and share. And I'm very interested in your comments, especially those of you who are currently working somewhere. And maybe you're currently working remotely. And you may have a very different opinion about all those wonderful things that you're doing working at home. In the meantime, please subscribe. But in these ever more difficult times, please understand that we're trying to work together as a team to help you get that next position. So we thank you for being here. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.